Hey there, it's Amy from thecrazycraftlady.com. If you have a Pottery Barn style, but a Dollar Tree budget, come craft along with me. We're going to make some Christmas candles that are inspired by Pottery Barn, but in a much smaller budget. Let's get making. These bow taper candles from Pottery Barn, super cute, but $24, $24.50 for 2 candles is definitely out of my budget. That's like a quarter of a grocery haul at Aldi. Sorry, not happening. So I decided to try to make this myself. I started with my hot glue gun and some parchment paper. This took some practice to make the bows. I'm not sure if I would do this again. Actually, yes, I would. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm going with it. It definitely looks handmade, but I think that's the charm. If you don't trust yourself to make bows with hot glue, you could also melt down a red crayon and paint the bows onto a taper candle. I just didn't have crayons in my house. And I'm kind of been enjoying playing around with drawing with my hot glue gun. It's kind of fun for me. So I definitely made way more bows than I needed to, and that is because some of them were duds. So I make like 4 times as many bows as you need, and then pick the best would be my advice. And so then once they had dried, there were a bunch of little strings, hanging off all the bows. So you just kind of have to peel all those away and pick your top 6 bows. You see, I made quite a few more than 6, and I just picked the ones that I liked the very best and clean them up real good, make sure they're nice and smooth. They don't have any rough edges. They don't have any strings hanging off them. And then we're just going to simply paint them. So this is my Waverly chalk paint in the color lacquer. Whatever red paint you have is totally fine. I didn't want to have to do 2 coats, so I used my 1-inch flat paintbrush and like a pouncing motion so I could get thicker coverage in just 1 coat. Or you could do 2 coats if that floats your boat. And then I thought I would just be able to hot glue the little bows onto the taper candle, but hot glue does not stick to wax, I quickly figured out. So I just used E6000, tiny dab on the back of the bow, set it in place on the candle, and then set the candle somewhere where it's not going to roll around while that E6000 hardens, and then you're in business. So I just did 3 little bows on each candle, and then here are my finished little bow candles. Like, this was a $1.25 pack of taper candles, and then the cost of like a hot glue stick and a little bit of paint instead of $24.50. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I kind of want to play with doing more stuff like this. How cute are these little candy cane straight Pottery Barn candles? But the price tag is not super cute, so we're going to do it for pennies on the dollar here, okay? Start with 2 just electric candles, like battery operated candles. I got these at Dollar Tree. You can get them at the craft store. You can order them on Amazon, wherever you want. And then we're going to do painter's tape. Yes, it's a little tricky because it's kind of a waxy surface, so you have to just be careful and really smooth the tape down, but it does work, and I got crisp lines in the end. I originally wanted to do washi tape, like craft tape, glitter red craft tape from the craft store, but I could only buy it in a huge multi-pack for like $20, which was not happening. So we painted. So you're gonna tape lines. So lay 1 piece of tape down and then tape another piece of tape right next to it so the 2 edges are very flush together. And then tape a third, and this is how you know you're going to get evenly spaced paint lines, or painter's tape lines, because then you peel away that center piece of painter's tape. Now, this may not be perfect depending on the diameter of your candle. On my first skinny candle, it was almost, the spacing worked out almost perfectly. On my short, chunkier candle, I had to, on that last piece of tape, I had to cut it in half and be like, yeah, that's going to be the back of the candle, no big deal. Or you could play around with cutting painter's tape in half, do thinner, thicker lines. The sky's kind of the limit there. And then you're going to add just plain red paint. This is my Waverly chalk paint in the color lacquer, but whatever red you got. Just make sure that you're not doing brush strokes towards the edge of the tape. You want to keep straight brush strokes or even be painting from the tape inwards towards the candle piece, and you'll get better, smoother lines that way. Also, make sure you smooth the tape down right before you add your paint. I did a generous, just single coat of paint and let that dry. And then I came in with my Mod Podge. This is matte Mod Podge just because it's what I had. It doesn't matter because we're going to add glitter over top of it. So work in like a couple sections at a time. Add down a generous coat of Mod Podge all over where the red paint is. And then you're going to sprinkle on red glitter. So this came in, I think, a 3 or 4 pack from Dollar Tree. But red glitter from anywhere, whatever you have in your craft stash is fine. And then sprinkle on the glitter and then tap off the excess. I just did this over top of like a manila folder so that I could easily fold it in half and then dump the glitter back in the container or back onto another section of the candle. I found that this one tiny vial was just almost the perfect amount to do the 2 candles. And then before the Mod Podge completely dries, you want to peel away the painter's tape at a 45-degree angle. By not letting the Mod Podge completely dry, you're going to have a better chance of having like smooth, crisp paint lines. And then here you go. How adorable are these little candy cane stripe candles? And it cost me like less than $4 all in supplies. Totally worth it. Alright, this is not a dupe, it's just inspired by these ornament shaped candles from Pottery Barn. There was no way I was going to be able to recreate like the glass finish and the patterns and the texture. No thank you. But I was inspired by making a candle that looked like an ornament. So I went to Dollar Tree. I originally wanted these metal bowls. I've crafted with them before. I think it was like 2 years ago. I made 2 bowls together into a jingle bell and it went totally viral on YouTube. Couldn't find them. So plan B, glass bowls. You're going to want a 4-pack of the little ones and then 2 of the individual larger clear glass bowls. Because we're going to make 3 ornament candles in total. So I just grabbed my heat gun and I removed all the labels from the bowls. I don't know what was going on with this adhesive. It left behind a residue that normally doesn't happen. It must have been a different sticker. So I went back in with my little rubber eraser. I probably should have done Goo Gone, but anyway, it took me a bit longer to get the labels off than I had anticipated, but here we are. I had my 6 bowls, 4 small, 2 large, and then I just grabbed this like metallic oil rubbed bronze spray paint. You just want something dark. It could be black, it could be a dark metallic, a dark brown, and we're just gonna base coat. This is just gonna be our primer, okay? Yep. Oh, dark bronze is the color. Hammered dark bronze from Behr. So you did a couple light coats for a good primer, and then I grabbed my antique gold rub and buff. We're actually going to do 3 different types of rub and buff, but we're starting with the antique gold. And I cut a tiny little piece of a clean dish sponge. Get a pack of dish sponges at Dollar Tree, Target, Walmart, wherever. And then we're going to brush in circular motions all the way around the 2 large bowls with the antique gold. Now you want to use like even, uniform brush strokes all in the same direction. You'll get a better finish that way because that spray paint some of that is going to show through. And that's why you want a dark color spray paint and you get that nice weathered metallic finish in the end. And I think, ooh, so beautiful. I can't get enough of antique gold. But then I wanted to do something different on the two little ornaments because I was like, we're going to go in a different direction. So I painted two of the bowls with the color pewter, which is kind of like a silver, and then a new color that I haven't used before, autumn gold. Very pretty. But just that same circular motion all the way around each bowl, using brush strokes in the same direction to get that nice finish. And then I wasn't even going to try to recreate the little metal ornament topper. I guess if you wanted to steal an ornament topper off of an existing ornament and paint it black or metallic, you could. Like I said, this was not a dupe. This was an inspired by, and I took the path of least resistance. So for my ornament hangers, it's this thicker than twine, but it's the same material. It's from Michaels, and it just has a little floss of gold running through it. I use it all the time at holiday time. So I just cut a little length of that, like maybe like an inch, inch and a half for the small ones, and like 3 to 3 inches for the large ornament. Hot glue the two ends of that cut piece of thick twine together to make a little loop. And then you just use E6000 glue to stick that loop right to the top of each bowl. To only 3 of the bowls, right? Because you need an ornament top and an ornament bottom. So we're only doing this on 3 of them. And then on the large one, I secured it with painter's tape because I was afraid the loop was going to flop to its side while the E6000 dried. The little loops, they didn't need the painter's tape. And then here's my candle melting setup. I grabbed one large like prayer candle and then 2 smaller like the votive candles, and I put them in a glass little candle holder. Make sure there's no labels or plastic or stickers on anything, and we're going to melt them in the oven. I put it in the oven on a baking sheet lined with tinfoil. Here's my setup at 200 degrees, and it does take like a half hour for the prayer candle to melt and a little bit longer for the other ones, but here's kind of like my in process. You can see it starting to melt. And then please don't come at me. I've never made candles before, okay? And I'd love any tips if you can be kind about it in the comments. Don't drag me, please. I'm learning. So here's my first melted prayer candle. I removed the wick because we're gonna reuse it, and I stuck it in the large bowl. Right, so the bottom one, the one bowl that doesn't have the ornament hanger hot glued to it, or E6000 to it. I kind of just set that wick in place, and then I grabbed a little oven mitt. And at first I was like, how am I going to approach this? Oh, and then I used like the sleeve of my sweater to grab the melted candle. And then I just poured all of that candle wax into the bowl. Now, this does not fill the large bowl completely. That's okay. Trust the process. I just set the wick in place between 2 bamboo skewers and set that aside. Now, these votives took a lot longer, so I finally got smart and I like pulled the votive candle out, and I took 2 bamboo skewers and I started poking and prodding to break up that larger wax piece that was unmelted in the center. And that really helped speed up the process so that these would melt faster. And then towards the end, there was just a little chunk left, and I was like, I'm just going to stir this until it melts. I hope that technique is okay. It worked for me. And then we're going to repurpose the 2 wicks. So I used my little bamboo skewers to fish out each little wick and set them in the 2 little bowls. And then the same process there, I poured the wax right into the 2 little bowls. Now, there's going to be leftover wax because these bowls are quite little, and you don't need a full votive candle to fill them. So first I use my bamboo skewers to like set the wicks in place to make sure that they're centered or as close to centered as possible and upright. You just wedge the wick between the two bamboo skewers. And then I grabbed all that leftover wax and I poured it into my big bowl. And as sheer luck would have it, I would like to say like I planned this carefully and did math and measured volume. No, that did not happen. Sheer luck would have it, this was the exact right amount of wax to fill all 3 little bowl candles. How awesome is that? And I know it's not a dupe at the Pottery Barn, but I still think this is a really cute Christmas candle idea, and I love how this craft turned out. Okay, Pottery Barn's gingerbread ceramic stuff is like super iconic, and I even heard that they have like dupes of it at Hobby Lobby for way cheaper. But we're gonna recreate some of these little gingerbread alphabet candle holders. Very excited about this. I just grabbed 3 little glass candle holders from Dollar Tree. I grabbed my heat gun to soften up the adhesive and remove the labels. Now, it looks like this went really fast. I sped this up quite a bit. It does take a minute with the heat gun to really soften up that adhesive before you can start peeling back that sticker. So take your time or use a blow dryer if you don't have a heat gun. And then we're going to paint these obviously gingerbread color. So in an abundance of caution, I took a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a piece of a folded up paper towel, or you could use a cotton round. And I just gave everything a good wipe down with the rubbing alcohol just to make sure the glass was really, really clean and the paint would stick to it. And then, looking back, should I have used spray paint? Maybe. But can you always use spray paint when it's cold outside because you live in a state like Minnesota that only has joy and sunshine like 2 months out of the year? Yeah, so if you want to spray paint, but this is Folk Art multi-surface satin paint in the color Coffee Latte. You're gonna see here, it's going on real thin. So this is where you put in the Hallmark Christmas movie and just embrace it. Also, I am happiest with a paintbrush in my hand, so doing multiple coats of paint on a project really doesn't bother me. If this is gonna bother you, go the spray paint route, save yourself some time. I wanna say in all, I did 4 thin coats. I also didn't wanna do very thick coats because I didn't want visible brush marks and I didn't want paint dripping or having like weird blobby areas. So like I said, podcast, movie, whatever floats your boat, and then just, I think I did 4 very thin layers of paint all over. And then I didn't film this, but I did end up flipping the jars over and painting the bottoms of the candle holders too, just so no one's ever going to see it, but I know it's there and it'll bother me. And this was the nerve-wracking part, because I was fully prepared to have to throw these away if this didn't go well. So I'm really grateful. I think it worked out. I just took a pencil and I sketched my design. It's really hard to see the pencil mark on this brown paint on camera, and it's like almost as bad in person. I ended up having to like hold the glass candle holder up at different angles to see what I was doing, and then my hand was casting a shadow, and the shadow like on that brown paint like matched the color of the pencil, and it was a bit. But you just rotate the candle at the candle holder at various angles to get the light, and you can roughly sketch out your design, and if you mess up, you can erase it. Then I came in with my Folk Art Dots paint. This is just Whisper White, and here was my first attempt. It was not good. I did way too thick of lines. Live and learn. But what you can do is, all hope was not lost. If the paint has not yet dried, you can wet a paper towel and wipe all the paint away and start again. So if you need to do a practice round to gain your confidence like I did, give it a try and then wipe it off with a wet paper towel or practice like on a different surface. Yeah, I probably should have practiced on like a piece of cardboard. Didn't think that one through, did I? But anyway, you're going to see me here doing much thinner lines on this go around and rotating very often the candle at varying degrees. Also, you're probably going to have to see the top of my head because I only filmed one because it was really awkward holding this out so far from my body. When I painted the other two, I held the candle holder really, really close to my body, like touching like my stomach, and so I could look straight down at it and have my arms at my sides, and that way I felt like I wasn't as shaky and I had more control. So you may want to try that too. I equate the stance to like when I'm doing pottery, like when you're at a pottery wheel and your elbows are tucked into your sides. Kind of like that, you just have more control. And then I finished it off with a bunch of little dots. Like each one I kind of did its own little design, but just remember the lightest pressure with these dots, otherwise you're going to end up with really big, thick blobs. And they're going to spread and it's a mess. So I just did really light dots, and then instead of doing the scallop pattern like on the original Pottery Barn, I just did dots around the bottom edge of that vase because I just didn't trust myself to do a scallop pattern. But for being hand painted and by someone who like doesn't have a very steady hand, like I'm never going to be a surgeon. I'm never going to make beautiful sugar cookies. That's just not me. I'm really happy with how these turned out. Yeah, it's not an exact dupe, but they still bring me joy, no pun intended. And here are all 4 of my finished Pottery Barn candle dupes, or inspired by Pottery Barn candles. I do hope you enjoyed watching these projects come together. Until next time, happy making.
Hey, if you enjoyed watching these crafts, give one of these videos a watch. Thanks so much.